The Frontline starts now.
And welcome to another episode of the Frontline podcast. And well, you might be wondering, what are the guys going to talk about this week, considering, the Battalion haven't played hockey in a while, the Voodoos haven't played hockey in a while, and we haven't covered hockey in a while. Your guess is as good as us right now, although we do have two things to cover. I'm Kortney Kenny, pleased to be joined by Kassie Millen and Ben Sargent this week. Right off the hop. Harrison's not here. We fired him. He's just an empty chair. That's all he is now. Anyways, a bit of news, though, coming from the North Bay Battalion, from the OHL today. Adam Dennis has won the Jim Gregory Award, which is General Manager of the Year. We're just getting all the use out of that horn today.
Use, yeah.
And you know what? I think it's a year too late. But I do have to say he was deserving of this award last year. Definitely, though I would say more so deserving this year. But I did think that he deserved to win it last year for that team he assembled. Here's my quick thoughts on it before we go around the table. Just great to see some local recognition on that kind of level. Where the argument is for this year is this year was probably going into the season as a weaker team than last year. But it was mostly based on players that Adam had drafted. In his time here, and he's also led now over 3 years the battalion to 130 wins since the COVID pandemic, which is the most in the league or in the Eastern Conference, which is absolutely remarkable. So I get the sentiment for him coming and getting it this year, but I again argue that he should have won it last year. Also, his trade for Sarnia for Vilmanis and the LeBlanc twins, absolutely a steal. Although Kassie could hurt them down the road a little bit, but. Yeah, we'll start with you, Ben. Just Adam Dennis getting some league recognition.
Yeah, I think with the GM, there's always something. I think the same with coaches is when you take a team that's not expected to do well and they overachieve, they get a little bit more recognition than if they're already expected to succeed. Like last year, they're expected to succeed, right? They didn't do a lot. They got Bloom, the Zito, Hislop during the season. They got some guys. But it didn't make their team, I would say, necessarily a much better team than they already were. This year, though, I think it was the acquisitions that were made at the trade deadline, the Vilmanis, especially Vilmanis, but the LeBlanc twins, Vilmanis, as well as just some of the key guys like that top line doing what they did. And that's what pushed them to the conference finals. I think going into the season, the conference finals, I know we said that they should be winning. That's like the next step forward. But I think realistically, when you look at it, especially as we got into the mid part of the season, you're kind of like, oh, they're just a 500 team. Like they're not looking like they're going to click in the playoffs. I think it was that trade deadline and the fact that he didn't have to give up as many assets as you think he would have had to give up. So I think for that reason, yeah, I can definitely see that he's deserving out of all of them. I know, like obviously, look, it's a team like London that does really well. Is Dale Hunter also their GM?
No, it's Mark Hunter.
Oh, it's Mark Hunter. I knew it was a Hunter.
They're all Hunters down there.
You could probably give him he could probably be in the running every single year.
He was a runner-up actually.
Yeah.
And he won it last year, so
he could win it every year. I mean, London is just ridiculous pretty much every single season. So it is one of those things. I think it was the underdog story. I think you're right. Like last year, he probably should have won. And if the battalion would have won, it's one of those weird things where it's very tied on team success. If they would have won if they would have won the league, I think he would have won it.
That's a fair assessment. Kassie, you've watched this team now for a couple of years, and just your thoughts on some off-ice accolades for the team. I know I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't bring that one up earlier.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for this question.
This literally was a developing thing that just happened on basically on the way here. So.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, they did really well, so I mean, I believe he deserves it.
Okay, fair enough. I can accept that answer. He did, and rightfully so, credit, a lot of the off-ice personnel like Ryan Houlihan and the coaching staff and also John Winstanley and all that stuff. Because obviously it takes a lot of people to kind of make one person successful. You don't see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And I do think, that was the right call in giving them all the credit in the world because, again, credit where credit's due. Adam has done a really good job of assembling not just a great on-ice product since he became general manager of the battalion, but also a great off-ice product that's really attractive to players coming here. So I have to give him credit where credit's due on that. Again, It'll be interesting to see if he sticks around, if they're able to kind of flip the trick a little bit and see what they can do for next season. That'll be the first, I think, not necessarily the first real big test, because his first test was nailing the 2020 draft when he was given all basically the lottery. And he did nail it 100%. But I think this will be the next big test in Adam's general manager career, if he's still with the team, to, kind of keep it more like a London model where they're good year in and year out.
Is he on a contract year this season?
I don't know. They don't put any of that
really
stuff. No, they don't really put any of that stuff publicly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, as you said. Like, I thought this year was going to be a lot tougher, and it was at the beginning of the season. And they did. It's kind of an interesting thing because they're getting a lot of picks back. So again, we'll have to see how next year goes. But next year is going to be much more of it. This year was kind of a transitional year where they could be good, and they did end up being really good, or they could have been a lot worse than they were. But next year, like, you look at who's coming back and the players that are getting lost. You're asking a lot. Like, this year, Tarian stepped up a lot. Procession stepped up a lot in the second half of the season. Ertl stepped up a lot in the second half of the season. But there's going to be, you're losing out on a lot of key guys, especially when it comes to physicality, right? You lose Ertl, you're losing Arnsby. So now you need to get a new captain, right? And you don't know who's coming back because you don't have Vilmanis. And you have probably 5 or 6 people that you could bring back if you're overagers. And that's assuming that, like, someone like a Wakely doesn't get picked up. I think Van Stiesel's an overager. It depends on if he gets picked up.
Draft.
Depends if Dom comes back or if he goes into, I assume he's going to go at least ECHL, if not AHL. It'll be interesting to see where his career goes.
Yeah.
Nelson's the same thing. He'll be probably in the AHL. So you're losing pretty much all your key guys. And it'll be very interesting because when you look at who's those next players that are coming up, you're going to be asking, again, a lot of Tarian, a lot of Procession. We said that going into this season with, like, the Romanis and the Wakeleys and stuff, and they picked it up. But it'll be very interesting to see how the other players, if they can continue that year over year, going to go. And the only downside, I think, to that trade deadline was it wasn't built for the future. In terms of, like, he didn't trade for guys who still had a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was very much...
Except for Bronson Ride.
Except for Rod, yeah. But if it would have been better if Vilmanis had an extra year. Because technically he does, but he's not coming back.
Yeah.
So if he was a year younger, if the LeBlanc twins were a year younger, and they weren't going into their overage year, it would have been a much stronger trade deadline in terms of, like, future.
Yeah.
But they did... they obviously fell short to Oshawa, but they did what they had to do. So... yeah, next year is going to be very, very interesting. And as you said, like, if Adam's back, which I'm sure the only reason he wouldn't be back is if he had offers from a higher. I wouldn't even say OHL. It would have to be like AHL or ECHL and above, which I could definitely see him getting. Like, he's proven at this level that he can build a good team. Plus, you're dealing with so much turnover, right? Like, it's a different world than because when you go to the ECHL or the AHL, there's a little bit. People will poach your players, but you have a little bit more stability in terms of how many years you have somebody for.
Yeah. Well, there's no age limit. You could play literally until the day you die if you wanted to, but whether or not you can play at a high quality of hockey is different. Whereas in this league, a lot of the guys leave at 19 a lot. And then if not, you can only keep 3 20-year-olds past the deadline.
Because you could have somebody for 3 years or you could have them for 4 years. Like, so that's kind of tough where you're like, okay, I'm guaranteed to have this person for 3 years, but they need almost 2 years to actually
hit their stride.
Yeah. So you only get them for maybe 1 year of where they're, like, really good.
Yeah.
And then they kind of move on.
And that's kind of the funny thing about watching that 2020 draft class, because, like, a guy like Nelson came out of the gate great. Right off the hop, he was one of the top defenders on the team. Wakely, the second round pick, he still scored 20 goals in his rookie season, but there were bouts of inconsistency. Van Steensel was a bottom 6 guy. He was good at mucking around and, being on the penalty kill. And then poor Mathurin, we've barely seen him because of injury until this year. And then you watch their year-over-year growth. Wakely hits 30 goals the next year. Van Steensel's playing with Arnsby and McDonald a lot more, and stuff like that. Nelson still, Ty Nelson, but now he's setting records. And then this year, Nelson goes to Team Canada. Wakely's over 100 points. Van Steensel hits over 40 goals. Or let's talk about Anthony Romani, who hit 8 goals in his rookie season. And then the next thing he hits 20 some. And then now he's 58 goals this year.
And who knows if he's back?
Well, here's the thing for next year is if Wakely and Van Steensel decide they want to come back or they haven't signed a deal, and then you have that top line, you're automatically a top 4 team in the East, I would say, with that line. And if Mike McIver keeps playing the way Mike McIver played in the playoffs.
If they all come back.
But that's a big caveat, right? That's a big question.
One of the things, too, is a lot of people want to go home.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if there's not a guarantee that... See, this is the tough thing, and this is where it's like life's not fair, is you look at, Wakely's not signed. And there's no guarantee... He should be signed. There's no question about it. Yeah. But there's no guarantee that anybody's going to sign him. Right? So the question is, do you move, because he's from Aurora?
No, he's from near Peterborough. He's near Peterborough. Port Hope.
So if you have, if you can play closer to home, for one more year, and then you can look at your future, whether that's hockey or not or whatever, that might be more appealing to some guys.
Yeah, I think we do live in a very realistic world where we've seen the last games of Wakely and Van Steensel here in North Bay, and obviously Ty Nelson and obviously Dom DiVincentis. Yeah. Those guys are guaranteed they're gone, I would say, unless for whatever reason Seattle and Winnipeg say, no, you can have them back for their overage years. I don't think so. I don't think that's what happens. I mean, Seattle's team in Coachella is...
I could maybe see it happening with Dom only because, depending on their depth chart, and he was injured this year a lot. So I could see them potentially being get more reps. Not that it kind of sucks from a McIver standpoint, but I could see a world.
Dom or do you trade him?
Okay, so now we're asking because here's the thing. I hope that he's not playing in the OHL next year.
Me too.
But I could see a world, a logic where he's not playing in the OHL he's playing in the OHL because of they want to get him playing time and they don't want him stuck behind Milic. Maybe there's no room in the ECHL. I don't know what Winnipeg's thing is, but it's hard because this season he was injured a lot, and he wasn't the same player he was the year prior, mostly probably because of injuries and trying to come back, and then he's injured again in the playoffs. I could see a world where he comes back. Now, if you say, do you trade him? I think from a longevity term, and it's tough because, again, you're dealing with people and it's not a business. But if we're looking at it strictly from a business standpoint, I think it would be better overall because, again, if you trade Dom maybe somewhere closer to home where he can be more comfortable, maybe for a team that's more guaranteed to go deeper, then because, again, next year we don't know if this is going to be another middle of the pack team or if this is going to be going for the Central Division.
Yeah,
we won't know until probably February or trade deadline to get a good idea. But with Dom, I think the smart thing is trade him because you can't keep Mike on the bench again. Not after and you're not going to play in a perfect world. You would have him playing 50-50 with Dom to get more reps under his belt and not have him go a whole season. And that's not going to happen because that would make no sense to have Dom play 50-50. So I could see a world where they trade him, but bring in I'm just going to throw a name out there, an Anson Thornton. Not that he would come here, but a guy like that who's he's not, he's a good goaltender. He's not amazing, but he would be willing to do that 50-50.
I feel like he's an overager too.
He might be. It was the first name that popped in my head. But a veteran goaltender that's been in the league that can hold his own.
Yeah.
But then you kind of let Mike play 40 games.
This year coming really has an air of the fourth year. The battalion were here where, Mike Amadio had left. It was beginning to be a real turnover.
Those were dark times.
Yeah. That was when I started covering the team for a job.
Then you ruined it.
And that was all on me. I'm sorry, guys. This year has a real, it's going to be an intriguing summer. That's for sure.
And even if they're just a team that is not perpetually, but instead of that down year where they're missing the playoffs or they're in 8th, if they can be in 4th and 5th and still be in the conversation while they rebuild, I think that's fine. They don't have to be going for Central Divisions every year. It'd be great if they could, but it's really hard to kind of get those really high guys. London has just the history, right? And North Bay doesn't have the same history of success. Yeah. Especially they're if you discredit the Centennial stuff, if you look at it just from a battalion standpoint, which I think that's kind of the main thing that you're going to look at from a player perspective. They've been here for 10 years. I think this was the 10th year, right?
Yep.
So they've been good. They've had 2 really good windows, but they're not London.
No.
So if you're a really good player, if you're a Fantilli, I know that we drafted him, but if you're a Fantilli and you have the opportunity to go to a London, that pretty much every single season is going to the Memorial Cup, that's going to be more appealing.
That's why Saginaw took him one spot before London in the OHL draft, and then North Bay went and got his rights after that.
So if we just, you can't make that jump overnight. You have to build that program over long periods of time. Yeah. And then once and they're kind of already there, but the question is, over the next 4 years, if you can still be contending for the J. Ross Robertson trophy every year, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where you start becoming like, okay, this is a program that over 8 years has been constantly on the cusp. But it kind of the thing that's so frustrating about this team is just, it's like the Blue Jays where they were really good, or the Leafs, but they can't get over that hump.
Yeah.
For the Leafs, it's like the playoffs.
Well,
the Blue Jays, it's the playoffs.
The Battalion in the last 3 years have won collectively more playoff rounds since 2004 than the Leafs. So,
yeah.
And then the Jays just can't win a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, but and that goes back to like the Battalion. It would have been, last year was the year.
Yeah.
Last year was the year. This year, man, London was they were really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think North Bay would have done a better job than Oshawa.
Yeah. Well,
who got absolutely spanked.
Hold up. I want to focus on that series, but we'll talk about that a little bit more because did they ever get spanked? But anyways, no, I'm looking forward to what moves are made this offseason, see what happens. I do think we live in a realistic world where we've seen the last of 14 and 16 out on the ice for the Battalion. I could be proven wrong.
And maybe Romani.
Hopefully and maybe. Could be proven wrong. I hope I am. Also, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, you talked about the 2 windows. So if you think about it, 10 years of the Battalion have been here. 4 Central Division champions, or titles. That's rather impressive when you think about it. That's 40%. 40% chance every year that you're,
And there were some good teams this year. Mississauga was really good.
Mississauga,
Sudbury was really good.
Yeah. Last year, Barrie gave them a bit of a run for their money too.
Yeah.
But I mean, so 4 years or 4 seasons, you've won 4 out of the 10 years you've been here. You made it to the Eastern Conference 5 times out of the 10 years you've been here. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, you're 1-4 in those Eastern Conference finals, but it'd be nice to win, a couple more of those series. But when you look at these 2 teams, and that's kind of what was put in the press release with the whole Adam Dennis thing, and I agree, it's pretty remarkable the team that he's put together. Him and Ryan Houlihan have really put together, because they've won 3 division banners. They've made it to the Eastern Conference 3 straight years in a row. Ultimately, there will always be that asterisk next to this core group of guys that they couldn't get over that hump. They couldn't get to the finals. But when you think about this league, and with such turnover like you touched on, that can't be understated how amazing that really is.
Yeah, and if I was an owner of a team at the higher level, I would want to see how a GM handles the turnover rate.
Yeah.
Because right now, he drafted really well. He did the trades he did everything that he had to do in terms of, I would argue maybe last offseason, getting rid of Hislop maybe was a bit of a mistake in hindsight. I don't think at the time it was, but I think when the season started, you really missed out on the defense. It was kind of funny because it was like, Ertl didn't start out super hot, and you go, oh, maybe they should have kept Hislop. And then it kind of turned around to where Ertl was really good.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh, that wasn't bad. But I would say that their defense hurt a little bit, but then it all kind of turned out at the same way. But I think he's done a really good job for what he has, like the drafting, the turning around everything from when they were bad. But if I'm an owner of a higher team, I kind of want to see, how do you handle the challenges of that turnover, and how do you keep a team consistently good over a longer period of time?
Well, that's been the whole kind of mandate since they've been here, or since this group of front office guys have been here, is how can we turn into the London Knights of the North kind of thing. And only London has really cracked that. Money really helps when you look at the Hunters, obviously. But London's really figured out how to crack that code where they've been consistently good. Sure, they haven't won a championship every single year, but they've been consistently. It helps when also players are like, I'm only going to play for London, so if you draft me, I'm not going to report. That certainly helps. But Adam's come from the London program. He won a OHL championship and Memorial Cup with London, and then he won goalie of the year the next year with London. So, I mean, and from what I understand, he's still on pretty good terms with the Hunters. So, I mean, they sent back during just before when the pandemic hit, they moved Avery Winslow here from London, and then they moved Matvei Guskov, who never ended up playing a game here, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But he wanted a fresh start, and they said, "Look, we really believe in what Adam Dennis is doing up in North Bay. If we trade you there, would you go?" And he looked at the situation. The Hunters really sold him on coming to North Bay too. Adam really sold him on coming to North Bay. And then he got traded here, never got to play because the season was ended, unfortunately. And but I will say Matvei Guskov did do some great recruitment for the battalion, because who should he recruit to the troops? Matvei Petrov. So, it's kind of all working out in the wash. Hopefully we can see a little bit more success in the future. Yeah. But that'll be all that we really have to say about that. Do you have anything you wanted to add, Kassie?
Yeah, you've been quiet.
Not much, but I did look up Anson Thornton, and he's 20 years old.
Oh, okay, so you won't be here.
Yeah, I knew I was going to get in trouble as soon as I pulled that name into my head.
Ben, do you have anything else you'd like to add before?
No, I think we covered most of it. Again, it's just going to be, and I know we'll probably cover this going into like next season and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting offseason, and it's going to be next season, I think, is going to be the real challenge for the front office and coaching staff.
Yeah.
And the question is, can they be up there challenging for another division championship? Honestly, I don't really even care about the Central Division that much.
No, me neither anymore.
Because it's cool. It's nice to have, and I know that from a program standpoint, it's always a good thing to look at.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about hockey and a lot of sports, and like especially in North America.
What have you done for me lately?
No, it's not even. It's just people only care about playoffs. And I know that people will be like, "Oh, cool, you won the division," or "Oh, cool, you won the conference." Or think about like all the teams that have won the NHL and won the Campbell Trophy.
Oh, you mean the President's Trophy?
The President's Trophy, yeah. I think Campbell's the last name of the actual.
No, it's like the Western Conference Trophy.
Okay. Anyway,
Prince of Wales or something. I don't know.
So think about like a Boston, or I think Toronto. Didn't Toronto win it recently?
They haven't won a President's Trophy, no.
Oh, Montreal has. Let's go. No, but like when Boston would do it, or Washington, and they wouldn't win the Stanley, nobody cared.
Yeah. Congrats, you were the best team in the regular season.
And it's dumb because the regular season is harder than I would argue, than the playoffs.
Well, it's more of a grind. Or it's more of a marathon, I should say. But yeah, Boston set records last year, over 60 wins. They had a 3-1 series lead on the Florida Panthers, and they lost in 7 to Florida. Or Tampa Bay, who had over 60 wins as well. There was like a 30-point difference between them and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Blue Jackets swept them in the first round.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, no one cares because they didn't win the Stanley Cup.
No, that's it. And all that Tampa Bay team is remembered for is getting swept by the Blue Jackets, and all Boston's remembered for last year is getting reverse swept, or not reverse swept, but losing 4 straight to Florida.
And it sucks because like there is a lot of pride to winning the Central Division or to winning the league or your conference.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, when we look at the way that we're conditioned as sports fans, like I think people, and I think players look at it too, and they say I don't think London is as good as they are because they keep winning their division.
No,
it's because they get to the Memorial Cup, they win the OHL, they get to those next steps, and I think it's just the way it is. And I think fans are the same way. I think if you ask the average Battalion fan, and you said, "Do you care that they won the division?" You're like, it's cool. And again, like hang the banner, you deserved it. Yeah, and it's great to celebrate that.
Well, banners do fly forever.
But there is a level of it that if they want to get to that London level, they need to take that step, and they need to win they need to figure it out and win the OHL, and that's going to be a very hard mountain to climb.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about the Central Division to me. That first year when they won it, very first year, that was amazing. It was cool because he did it in Sudbury. We were at that game, and then they went on to the finals, and it was just a Cinderella run because it was brand new to North Bay. It was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then you look at, coming out of the pandemic, it was a big deal because, oh my God, this team is ahead of schedule. Like, this is awesome. You know, we didn't think that Nelson would be this great off the hop. We didn't think Dom would be this great off the hop. We didn't think Wakely, you know, the list goes on and on. Then last year it was cool because, oh my God, they won back-to-back years. That's pretty cool. Now you got to go and win in the playoffs. And then Peterborough said, no, hold on.
And they would have won that.
They should have won that
They
series.
could have gotten the Memorial Cup easily. That's still the best team on paper that I think North Bay's ever had.
Yes, I agree. And then this year was just kind of like, okay, you won the Central Division title, but I feel like we kind of, even though we didn't know how the season was going to go, we kind of expected that. Now you got to win. And ultimately they didn't, unfortunately. So this one's the first one that I'm kind of like, that's great.
I think it's a good thing to be at if you're a player to be like, we're going to win the Central Division.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been a bigger thing if they won the East.
Yeah.
And
they were right there, 3 points behind Oshawa.
Because they've done it so many times in a row that again, as a program and as a club, you can celebrate it. It's a great thing to celebrate. So I'm not knocking on like celebrating it as a player or as a team.
For sure.
It's just, I think, especially from a fan perspective or from an outsider perspective, the biggest thing, and I think the thing that's going to attract people the most when we talk about that London thing, is just you got to win in the playoffs because realistically, it goes back to just people only care about what happens in the playoffs. You could be an 8th and you could win the OHL, and that's a much bigger deal than if you win the Eastern Conference, even though I would argue that winning the Eastern Conference is harder.
Yeah.
Over the course
look
of
at Peterborough.
games.
They were 4th in the conference last year.
Yeah.
You know, they played under 500 after the trade deadline.
And no one cares about the regular season.
No, because banners fly forever. Just another thing I'll say though about the Central Division banners before we can go to break, and do hang around because I think we're gonna rip into Oshawa pretty good. But anyways, yep, that's how I feel. But you could see it with the players when they won the first one. They were super excited. Everything was amazing. You know, a guy like Brandon Coe had been here through some really tough times, you know, and stuff, and now he's winning a division. And then last year you saw them. It was just it was a bit of a muted celebration on on the ice. It wasn't like anything crazy. When I talked to Ryan Houlihan post game, I said, you know, you won the Central Division. That's great. He's like, been here, done it. Now we have to win in the playoffs. I didn't really get a chance to ask him this year about it. I think that's how the same opinion was because they didn't really react again to winning on the ice at the time, right? So I think the players are in the same boat. It's just a matter of going on to doing it. But we'll talk about the team that eliminated the Battalion a little bit more in depth on the other side of this.
Average Joe's Eatery and Patio Bar is North Bay's only year-round lakefront restaurant. On the shores of beautiful Trout Lake, we have been serving delicious food and stunning views since 1999. Indulge in one of our delicious menu items or simply sit with a cocktail in hand and watch the beauty of Trout Lake before your eyes. Check us out online at averagejoes.net or visit us in person at 3501 Trout Lake Road, North Bay.
Hey there, I'm Mike the Financial Advisor. When you strip it down to its core and you take away all the industry jargon, I help people solve financial concerns. So if you're concerned that you'll never save enough to retire comfortably, or that your kid is going to graduate post-secondary $40,000 in debt, or maybe even that life is going to take a really unfortunate sideways turn and somebody is going to have to open a GoFundMe page for you and your family, I can help you prevent all of those things from happening. If you want to see how, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Just do a search for Mike the Financial Advisor. You should find me.
You rely on your vehicle to take you to the places that matter most to you. So bring your vehicle to the team you can rely on to keep it running at its best. Dave's Automotive Services. Whether you're getting your car or truck ready for the season with a tire change, making sure you're safe on the road with an inspection and certification, or doing your due diligence to keep your vehicle in tip-top shape with regular maintenance, Dave's Automotive Services has you covered. Expert troubleshooting, quality repairs, and time-efficient labor are the 3 stars of service you can expect when you bring your car or truck to Dave's Automotive Services at 411 Airport Road. Call 705-478-5544 and book your appointment today.
And we welcome you back to the Frontline podcast. Kortney Kenny, pleased to be joined by Kassie Millen and Ben Sargent. As now we've come to our favorite time of the podcast, or some of our favorite time. Maybe not so much, because I wish that we were actually talking about the Battalion in a good light. But here we are talking about the Oshawa Generals. Yeah. Every time that we basically say their name, it's kind of a bit of a joke. Here's some crazy stats with the Oshawa Generals, who got swept by the London Knights.
4.
Maybe 4th time's the charm.
Maybe.
London outscored Oshawa 31-9 in their 4-game sweep of the Generals for the OHL championship. Oshawa managed more than 1 goal in a game just once. A 7-6 double overtime loss in Game 3, which Oshawa led 6-2 heading into the third period. That is what you call karma.
For one tweet.
For one tweet.
That was done by an intern, probably.
Yeah, but that intern's not getting a job. They also lost, and it's really wild when you hear the stat for a team that made it to the OHL finals. Usually when, the two teams that are meeting in the finals, they've gone on winning streaks in the playoffs or they've done a really good job. Oshawa lost 7 of their last 8 games in the playoffs. The only win coming in Game 7 against the Battalion. Ben, let's go to you first. Wow.
Yeah, they were shit. They were. Okay, let's be honest.
You're not wrong.
Let's be honest. What really hurt North Bay in that final series was just those first 3 games. They just going down 3-0. That was the nail in the... I won't want to say it was the nail in the coffin. It was a very tough hill to climb after that. It was, and you could tell in Game 7 they were running, and I know you and Harrison talked about it last week. I think I talked about it last week. The last episode.
People talked about it.
Anyways, I don't remember what day it is. So, yeah, they kind of...
May 21st.
They got spanked. We had the after action report live. They got spanked 6-1. And really in that game, too, the Battalion just didn't... There wasn't a sense of urgency, which is... a lot of times when you go into Game 7, you expect it to be there's an urgency there, and it didn't feel like there was from the players. Not necessarily a bad thing on North Bay's end. It was just more, they weren't playing as a team. They weren't playing as a unit. They were playing a little bit more individually, and sometimes that happens in Game 7s. And there are games when you have it, and there's games when you don't, and it's a bad time to not have your game going. But then Oshawa goes in, and I'm going to be honest, if the Battalion would have won and got to the series, it would have been tighter of a series. I don't know if it's going by 5 or 6 though, because London is a really good flipping team.
Yeah, London was really good. I do think North Bay gets, at the very least, they get 1,
especially at home, probably.
Yeah, but North Bay had beaten London in the regular season, so I'm kind of more optimistic. I think London wins the series, but I think North Bay gets it to 6 at the least.
Yeah, and depending on how they play, but you look, and Oster was really good in that finals. I didn't watch any of the games when they played London. I was just following it along on social media. So I can't really comment on how good or bad Oster was. But the first game, 8-1. The second game, 9-1 London. This was hilarious though. So on the Game 3, Oshawa was up 6-2, and I'm like, oh, they're going to win a game. They end up losing in double overtime 7-6.
Yeah.
And they give up 4 unanswered goals.
I watched that's the only game I actually watched the highlights for because I had to see it to believe it.
They gave up 4 unanswered goals in the third. Or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so 4 unanswered in the third. Plus they lost in double overtime. So imagine having to cover that game.
Yeah.
And then you're like, and then you come away with a loss anyways. That would be such if you're an Oshawa.
Well, I can just imagine the mindset of someone in the building basically watching that game, because it's Game 3, you're at home. Okay, great, we're gonna get our home faithful behind us. Everything's going.
And you're up 6-2 going in the third.
That's exactly it. You're thinking, man, we're at least back in the series. Wrong.
And then they get spanked 2 days later, 7-1.
Yeah.
To get swept.
Yeah.
It was kind of embarrassing. I don't know. I'm just pulling this one out of my butt here, but I don't think there has been a final that has been that one-sided, like an OHL final. Maybe a round 1, sure. Maybe round 2. But when you start getting to the conference finals and the finals, I that was just domination. They're outside of that Game 3, they weren't even sniffing at the door.
No.
To get a win.
Kassie?
It was embarrassing. It was overall just I didn't watch any of the games either, but they didn't even stand a chance.
No.
And it was funny because on social media they'd have this big ego, and then
that's the only reason I care. It's not, I don't care about them beating, well, I mean, I do care about them beating the Battalion, but I was good game. You know what? You guys deserved it. At over a 7-game period, you play better, right? You're you guys deserved it. But then as soon as they tweeted that, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I hope
London.
you get absolutely, because what a dick way of saying it on Twitter.
For those that have been living under a rock, they just tweeted at OHL Battalion, maybe 4th time's the charm, in reference to getting over the Eastern Conference hump. Sorry, Kassie, continue with what you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying, like, for having a big ego and then losing your first game 8-1 and then the next one 9-1. Like, honestly, I was waiting for the next game to be 10-1 at that point. It just kept going up.
Though it is nicer, the fact that Oshawa, like, thought they were going to win.
Yeah.
And then they got, like, they still lost, I thought was just really good.
That's such a back-breaking game. Like, game 4, they were going to lose after they lost that game. Because that was the same way against the Wolves, right? Like, the Battalion came back from, like, being down 5-2 in the third period, came back and won the game in overtime. The Wolves were done in that series after that. It's the same thing. Oshawa was done in that series, right?
Yeah, they just... I don't know. I was really happy about it to know that oh my God, London won. But yeah.
That's not something that like people outside of London say very often too, that, oh, we're happy that London won. Like,
well, it's because of that tweet. I never even cared about, it's like the Batista, like the Odor punch.
Yeah.
Where like, I never really cared about Texas before, but now I really like fuck Texas. We're going explicit. Fuck Texas.
Well,
and
you
now
already
it's
went
the same.
explicit earlier. So.
Oh yeah. And now we're like, fuck Oshawa. Because like, what a dick thing to tweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, and Harrison put it right. He's like, you know, that's your branding on social media is to be like, you know, dinks. I get it. But that's like over the line. That
Like,
tweet is over the line.
I would have, if it was from a fan account, I would have been like, okay, that's just a fan.
Oh
being
man,
a fan.
Generals Live, like their fan account or whatever, is brutal too, because he kept talking about like, oh, look at all the refs like helped out North Bay in their series. And we're like, did we watch the same series, man?
And the funny thing was, I thought when I first saw that tweet, I thought it was from a fan account.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have like the check mark now with like the way that X works. And so I clicked on it. I was like, this is the actual Oshawa. Like, I have never seen, and I've seen some, especially in hockey, I've seen some social medias kind of go on the line, but there's like, that's like not shaking people's hands afterwards.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's like this,
It's like
this
Brodeur
line that you
skating
don't,
past Sean Avery
Yeah.
and not shaking his hand.
there's like a line you don't cross.
Yeah.
And I feel like and I understand the brand that they're making and the point that Harrison made. Yes, they're making a brand and that's their brand. But still, there's like a level. And the only thing that makes me super mad about it is the fact that they almost blew a 3-0 series lead. It's like how they almost got beat up and then they're like, well, I beat you up. And it's like,
yeah, that's the thing about that tweet about beating the Battalion in game 7. Again, like you said, the Battalion almost reverse swept the Gens. And then the Gens are just like, oh yeah, well, we won. Take that. Like, you're like, but did you really? Did you really though? Because you had a 3-0 series lead.
we won, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly.
The ire of the entire
Like,
Italian fan base.
Every team that gets eliminated, or even the team that wins, like you saw the Battalion, and this isn't just me trying to suck up to the Battalion social media page, because they're actually the only time I've seen the Battalion do something like on the edge was against Kingston, when they made a comment about the guy in the penalty box being like, how many teams have you been on? And they're like, and they were up against Kingston. They're like, how many goals have we scored?
But that's okay. The reason that's funny though is because they were being a dick, and it was just an easy way to kind of like flip it on them.
Yeah.
But like with Oshawa, no, if North Bay was a dick to them,
Yeah.
and then they said that, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But to go out of your way right after you win and rub it in their face after you almost blew a 3-0 series lead, it's just so funny because I'm like, the audacity.
Well, and that's exactly it. Like that, the Battalion, every time that they won a series, they would like tweet at like Kingston with like a picture of the handshake line being like hard fought series Kingston, or like even Sudbury, they were like, you know, rivals to the bitter end, but you know, we still respect or whatever they post or whatever. Then Oshawa was just like, maybe 4 times a charm.
This is like when Brent Clark was in the penalty box yelling at the other, or on the bench yelling at the other guy.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyways, Kassie, just your thoughts on them actually getting destroyed though, like, because I mean that's amazing.
I mean, I didn't have much hope going into it for Oshawa.
Me neither.
I knew like London was gonna take it.
Yeah,
I just thought they were gonna be like more kind of like
you thought they
easy,
were gonna.
and then 8-1.
I felt bad for. I would have felt bad for them. Like if without any context, I look at this, I'm like, I feel bad for you, Oshawa, but not anymore.
Here's the thing: is I feel bad for the players because obviously the players didn't make that tweet.
Maybe they. No.
No, they didn't.
No.
And you saw like there was video evidence of Oster like coming over and hugging like Terrian and Nelson, after the game and stuff. Like Jacob Oster, honestly, from what I've understood with the North Bay fan base, certainly with me, it seems like North Bay fans have really embraced him because of the way that he was after that. That whoever runs the social media account for Oshawa is just like either A, they're getting some heat, or B, they are an intern and they're not being asked back.
But then the thing was, I looked back a couple days later to be like, oh, maybe they deleted it.
No, they didn't.
They didn't, and they got a bunch of backlash. I mean, as much traction as you're going to get as a OHL social media account, they got like a lot of like. I don't think a lot of people were agreeing them. Like when I looked at the comments, and so but the players, as you said, like the players did a lot. They were very respectful, like in that line, and that's not a reflection on the players, but it is a reflection on the team. Because the social media is like the mouthpiece of the team a lot of the times, especially in today's day and age. So when you see that, it's not like, oh, it's an intern saying that. It's the Oshawa Generals are dicks and saying that.
Well, so I'm looking at the tweet right now because I retweeted it when they lost because I kept it up and it's still up. It says karma. All I wrote was karma's a funny way of working itself out. The top comment or the top post is from the battalion where all they said, good luck in the OHL final.
It's a classy reply, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and then I like how your TV North Bay is just like, way to stay classy, North Bay. And it's like, yeah, 100%. They did. And then the next comment is, you had a 3-0 series lead and almost blew it. I wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah.
Then immediately the next comment is, Knights in 5, though.
That joke's on them, Knights in 4.
And then this other person came in after the OHL finals and said, we were so young.
If they would have come out and apologized for it, and they would have been like, hey, like that wasn't a reflection, whatever.
Yeah,
that's fine. And honestly, like it's one of those things where it's like, it's not as big of a. It's weird because it's like on the edge of like it's not a huge deal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's still like an unsportsmanlike thing to do it, and it's still just like I'm never gonna like Oshawa now.
I don't know who this guy is, but I kind of want to tweet back at him. Razor Ray. So many crybabies in the comments. I love it. It's like, dude, read the room. This other person, though, came in after the finals and said, good luck in the OHL final, Oshawa.
and the thing, too, is like, even if I wasn't a Battalion fan, if I just saw that, I would have the exact same. If I was like a neutral fan, I would have the exact same stance on it where you're like, well, that's a dick move.
Yep. My Twitter account's like all over the place.
But I'm going to be honest. If North Bay tweeted that at Oshawa, if they did the exact same, it would be pretty. That's the double standard part of it. I would be like, I'd probably be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that, but that's funny.
Yeah.
But
I a couple of days before, this is like when the Battalion won in double OT to win Game 5. I wrote, hats off to Oshawa playing 84 minutes and 53 seconds tonight of tight, disciplined hockey. At no point did they make a play warranting of a penalty. Super rare feat in a game this long. I don't use Twitter all that often, but apparently I have, because then I wrote, the next tweet I have is, Billy Talent 2 is one of the best rock albums to come out of Canada since 2000. It might be one of the best in general, too.
Wait, when did you tweet that?
That was like 2 days later.
Oh, my God.
And then,
I mean, you're not wrong.
And then immediately the next tweet is me originally retweeting the Generals saying classless. And then after that, I wrote 500 Days of Summer is still a top tier movie.
Your Twitter is all over the place.
It is.
I think my last Twitter one was like, check out the Panther Radio.
Probably, yeah.
When I was in college.
I should just stop tweeting.
It's literally the only reason I have a Twitter.
Yeah.
And now
I think that's why a lot of us in school had a Twitter.
And now I just watch like news. Well, when I was following the Blue Jays a lot, I used to do it, but.
Do you have a Twitter, Kassie?
Yeah.
Can people follow you on Twitter?
No.
You're smart.
Yeah, you have
Keep it that
Snapchat though.
Yeah, you got Snapchat.
Big rig.
Hey, you know what?
People won't understand that.
I know that we're talking about Oshawa, and you know what? No, well, I got a third segment now. I got a third segment in my head. She's not going to like it, but we got a third segment. I'm just really... I feel like Oshawa... Okay, so here's a good question. I'll pose this to you first, Kassie.
Oh, God.
Because of Oshawa's no-show in the OHL finals, do you feel better or worse that the Battalion lost to Oshawa?
Kind of feel better.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think that they would have. I could not see North Bay beating London only because London was really good.
It always felt like whoever came out of the West was going to win.
But when you go back to the banner thing, we go back to the banner, and it was funny because the opposite of last year, whereas they could easily have beaten, I think they would have easily beaten London last year.
Yeah.
But we go back to the banner thing, and we talk about the Central Division banner. Having an Eastern Conference banner up there would be much more impressive. Because if they would have taken that step up, right, that they were kind of stuck at for the last couple of years, they would have taken that step up and gotten spanked by London. I don't think it would have been that bad. Not with the way Mike was playing, not with the way the defense was playing for the most part. It probably still would have been like maybe like 4-1, 5-1, whatever.
Well, they beat Oshawa. Like they actually beat London this year too.
And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go out there and they win in 6 or 7 games. We don't know.
Yeah,
we'll never know.
What ifs at this point?
But if you would have had that banner up there, it would have been a much better season, I think. And it's just tough because it's like it's really hard to judge it. But I think at the end of the day, and I guarantee you, if you would ask any of the people on the battalion's staff or players in confidence, they would never say it like publicly, but I'm sure a lot of them would feel that way too, where it's like, it's disappointing because you didn't get to the place where I think they think they should have been.
Yeah. But my original question is, do you feel better or worse?
Your question?
I mean, kind of.
Did I go around it?
Yeah, kind of. Do you feel better or worse?
I don't feel better or worse.
Okay, you're right
because
in the middle.
I think
right in the middle.
Yeah, because I think they would have probably not beaten London anyways.
Yeah.
So I was mentally prepared to be like, this is probably the best you're going to get this year.
Yeah.
And then if they would have beaten London, it's like a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, that's fair. The logical fan inside of me is like, you should feel worse because like Oshawa just got destroyed by London, so you should feel worse that North Bay couldn't even get past Oshawa, right? But,
from that angle.
But like,
no, I think North Bay and Oshawa were pretty close.
Yeah, in
terms of overall skill, like they were both really good teams.
But the vindictive side of me is like, I feel so much better. Like I'm not one of those guys that like you'll see like people like, oh man, like Vancouver just lost to Edmonton. I guess I need to cheer for Edmonton because you know what, they did well and they beat my team in Vancouver. I'm not one of those guys. Like when the Leafs lost to Boston, I'm like, oh man, Florida's going to destroy Boston. And then they did. And like last year when I was like, oh man, the Leafs lost to Florida. I hope Florida gets destroyed at the next round. Oh, they didn't. Okay, I hope Florida gets destroyed at the next round. Oh, they didn't. Oh, I hope Florida gets destroyed in the Stanley Cup playoffs or finals. They finally did. Or like, I'm the type of Leafs fan that's like, wow, the Leafs got beaten by Montreal. Well, that's okay. Montreal's going to lose to Winnipeg. And they didn't. Oh, well, Montreal's going to lose to Vegas. And they didn't. Oh, well, at least Tampa Bay is going to kick their ass, kind of thing. So
what a wild season.
Yeah,
the one thing the Leafs will never have, a Western Conference championship. Let's go!
True. Actually, back in the day when the Leafs were playing, they would have bet the Habs in the finals in '93 if the whole Gretzky thing didn't happen with the Kings. But they were playing for the Western.
Mean they won that whole thing.
Yeah, well, Gretzky hit Gilmore in the face. I don't get Leafs fans being so upset about that because it's like, oh, it's a missed call. Guess what? We just lived through an entire series of missed calls. But anyways,
well, that's like the Kovalev slash. Remember that?
Yeah.
Against, I think it was Boston.
He got it, and he just gave up on the play because he's just like, oh, my arm.
Yeah, and they scored, and you're like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, but as a fan, you're kind of like, oh no, fuck that guy.
This is so explicit, this episode.
That's fine.
No, but like, yeah, the whole thing is, with the Leafs, yeah, they were going up for the Western Conference Final against LA. It's really weird to say that in the playoffs, but that's where we are. Also, Dave Laxdal, the head coach of Oshawa, I got to bring this up because this is wild. And you guys, I don't know if you guys saw this. Ben might have because it was in our group chat. But, Kassie, I don't think you saw this.
Probably not.
All right. Generals head coach Dave Laxdal was very critical of the officiating in the postgame following tonight's OHL Finals Game 3 as Oshawa fell 7-6 to the London Knights in double overtime and now find themselves down 3-0 in the series. I thought the referees got intimidated tonight by the other coach. Yes, we were undisciplined, but the ones penalties that weren't called, there's no excuse for it. I don't care if it's the finals. Put your whistles away. Don't rob these kids of a chance to get a win. I think they were robbed tonight. He also referenced the non-call in Dylan Rubrick's third period breakaway attempt and stated it's a penalty 99 of 100 times, this time being the one that it isn't. Here was my opinion of it, and I summed it up pretty quick on Twitter. Good to know that even though he is on the bench, he didn't watch a second of the series against North Bay. Because here's Oshawa's coach, Kassie, complaining about the officiating when we just watched an entire 7-game series in which Oshawa got all the breaks when it came to penalties.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of find it stupid that he did that, but
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what's going through his mind.
It's very tone deaf.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh, hey, look at what we just did. We just graffitied North Bay's, home, and it's terrible. And then, London comes and does the same thing, and it's just like, oh, look at what this is terrible.
Yeah. That I don't even know what to say to it other than it's kind of just petty, but
Yeah, I think it's just silly. Ben, what's your thoughts on Dave Laxdal complaining about the exact thing that North Bay was trying to complain about the whole Eastern Conference Finals?
I'm tired. Just okay, I don't know. It's one of those things
I'm
where
tired, boss.
Yeah, when it happens against you, when it's happening on the other side, you don't care because you don't see anything wrong because you're not looking for anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or you're kind of like, cool. I think it's just trying to find things to complain about.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. There might have been calls that they missed. Maybe I don't think they're intimidated by London. Was Oshawa intimidating the refs in their series?
If you don't call these penalties, we're going to slash your tires.
Weren't they playing in Oshawa?
Yeah, that was game 3 in Oshawa.
So there's not even the home crowd booing you.
Yeah.
To put if you called a penalty, the home crowd's not going to be booing you.
Yeah.
Right? Unless London's fans, there were more London fans than Oshawa fans.
I think what he's trying to do is insinuate. Yeah, there's a lot of Generals fans. I think what they're trying to do is insinuate that, because it's Dale Hunter behind the bench and he calls a young referee over, the young referee's going to listen. That's such a silly cop out. I don't get it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If he would have said the refereeing was bad, I didn't agree with the refereeing, but you have to take responsibility for your play as well.
Yeah.
So if he would have said yeah, that was frustrating. If somebody asked him about it and he said, yeah, it was frustrating. I felt like we could have more calls, but at the end of the day, we should have played better here. We should have defended better. We should have, our goaltending should have been better. If he would have said that, it's cool. You don't like the refereeing, which is a fair point to make, but don't use that as a crutch to say this is why we lost.
Yeah.
Because even if you get a penalty, there's no guarantee you're not going to give up a shorthanded goal, and there's no guarantee you're going to score.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that penalties don't change the flow of a game and they don't affect the game, because they absolutely do.
Yep.
But I think there's more issues. It's just a cop out to me to just complain about it. That's all. I don't even think, because I don't think Ryan ever complained about it in that final.
He got close,
but he didn't blame his team's
no, he didn't.
performance on that.
No. He did talk about how, when you're always in the penalty box, that gets you tired because you always have the same guys out on the ice kind of thing.
And that's a fair point.
That's a very fair point. That's the thing is when I've been able to interview Ryan as much as I have the last 3 years plus on the podcast, you start to pick up on a little things that he'll say that that he's not happy about something. He'll never the thing that I really like about Ryan is he's very professional. He's never going to throw somebody under the bus, a la the previous regime, or rip into you live on a microphone or something. Ryan's very methodical with his media answers. He's very, very good. And him and Adam are very good at not giving you anything unless they're in a long form interview. They're very good at kind of dodging the tougher questions. And I appreciate that. I don't appreciate that when I'm asking the questions, but I appreciate that. But you could tell that there was, a bit of a boil to his blood. The temperature was up for sure with the way that he answered some of the questions about the refereeing, but he never came out and was straight up the referees in this series have been awful. They're intimidated by Dave Laxdal,
Yeah, he's very calm. Well, I don't know, calm, but he's very collected.
Yeah.
When he answers questions.
Yeah.
And put together,
I wish I could be like that. I get way too, how dare you?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Who do you think you are? I am.
All right. With that being said, I think that's all we have to say about the Oshawa Generals London Knights.
I don't know. I don't know how much more you could say about it other than
Oshawa sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for them. You got what's coming up.
Maybe game 5 is the charm.
I mean, I feel bad for the players.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the organization, but not for the person who made that tweet.
No. I do like their jerseys, though. The red jerseys are really nice. I like those.
All right, now time for break.
Yeah. Anyways, with that being said, we'll go to a quick break here and we'll talk about something crazy on the other side of this.
Meals are a special time for families to gather, share their day, and spend quality time together. Those dinners are made extra special when you add tropical produce found in the markets and grocery stores that carry La Huerta imports. La Huerta knows the importance of family, so they know which quality products make the best quality meals for your customers, whether it be Mexican Hass avocados, Brazilian figs, Ecuadorian red dragon fruit, or something just as exotic and special. To get your supply of the best tropical produce at competitive prices with brands buyers trust, contact La Huerta Imports at 705-752-1478.
Barry! Huh? I told you not to be scaring the customers.
Hey, Barry! Come on in for a bite. And bring Brianna with you.
For only 2 minutes up the hill, where you're only a stranger once.
Ready to embark on an electrifying adventure? Look no further than the Mitsubishi Outlander, available in gas or PHEV, the SUV that redefines excellence. Recently awarded the best midsize utility vehicle in Canada for 2023 by AJAC. This bold and sophisticated SUV delivers advanced performance, safety, and tech, plus peace of mind with its standard super all-wheel control and the best warranty in the business. With red-hot deals and plenty in stock, your award-winning drive starts with the Mitsubishi Outlander.
Why is Northern Honda servicing more cars of all makes and models? Let's count the ways. 1. Our state-of-the-art facility has award-winning technicians. 2. Northern Honda has the lowest tire price guarantee, no matter what you drive. 3. The lowest synthetic oil change guarantee, and every 5th oil change is free for all makes and models. Plus, new Honda buyers get brake pads for life. See the service difference at Northern Honda, 1250 Seymour beside Home Depot.
Community engagement is one of our core focuses at McDonald's. The key is finding the right people who are passionate about the same things we are, helping kids be kids. McDonald's proudly supports local organizations such as the North Bay Regional Health Center Foundation, Big Brothers Big Sisters, One Kids Place, the Children's Aid Society, and Ronald McDonald House Charities. Stop by McDonald's on 1500 Fisher Street, North Bay to see how we can serve you and the community every day.
And we welcome you back to the Frontline podcast, in which we're going to get Kassie on the hot seat here. Ben and I are going to end up grilling you with some.
Can you give me 1 second? Because this is definitely going to get us copyright, but it's going to be funny.
Oh, well, I don't care. So, to get you mentally prepared.
Okay.
Because Ben and I have been through this. Ben and I have gone through it. We're both alumni of West Ferris Secondary School. Here we go. Do you want to be a millionaire?
Do I want to what?
She doesn't even know what this is.
Yeah, you never.
Do you know what this is?
No.
You never. It's probably way before.
So there was a show back in the day called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so this is the music they put when you're waiting to answer a question.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now.
No. So it's not that intense. Or is it? But anyways, Ben and I have both been through the grade 12 grind, and we're out of high school, and our high school days are well behind us. And as of recording, you have probably just under a month of school left. Mm-hmm. Take us through your final year at West Ferris Secondary School. How's it been?
Well, I mean...
This music makes it so much better.
I don't know how to explain it. My year was boring. Well, not boring.
Boring?
Okay, no. I take it back.
Boring?
No.
Apparently we're boring,
No,
Ben.
I meant like...
Yeah, this is about
the
right.
school part was boring, but...
You're not winning $1 million here.
I don't know. I don't really do much outside of hockey and school and, like, obviously my friends. So this new experience that I got was actually, like...
It was pretty boring, apparently.
No. It was like a breath of fresh air. Like, it was fun, and I got to experience things I've never done before, and I got to meet a bunch of new people, and I used to be this really shy person, and now I'm talking on a podcast, which I never thought I would ever do in my lifetime. So, I mean, I opened up a lot this year, and I think for my grade 12 year, it was actually a really good year, and I've never really had a good year in high school. It's been boring each year, so...
I guess you also went through the pandemic to start it, too, so that's...
Yeah.
What was it like going through school with the pandemic? Because obviously never had to deal with that.
Well, I mean, I was in grade 8 when it
This
happened.
is for $500, by the way.
Okay.
Anyways, continue.
I was in grade 8 when it happened.
Yeah.
And I was coming back from a trip, so I just got like an extra week off, and then it kept changing, and I was a shy person and very quiet, so I was like, oh, this is amazing. I get to stay home. I don't need to talk to anybody. Like,
that's fair.
I'm all good. And our teacher at the time he didn't grade anything, so we didn't even have to do any work. We were supposed to, but it didn't count.
Oh, it's just a long answer, that's all. Can I press this button?
What button?
There you go. That means you answered.
All right, what's your answer?
My answer is COVID was pretty good, actually, but hard when going back to school.
Wait, you said it was pretty good?
It was pretty good.
Sorry, I just wanted to play those singers. I was hoping for that do. You know?
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Anyways.
No, that's a different show.
You know how it goes do.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for.
Apparently not.
Anyways, continue.
It was pretty good, but it was tough going back to school.
Now that we got the autobiography of Kassie.
Hey, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We got a lot more.
There's more?
We got a lot more layers to peel back here.
Oh, God.
Ben was stuck working retail during the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, no.
Oh, are we just going to unlayer what COVID was?
No, I'm just saying you were stuck working retail.
It was great for the first bit, though.
Yeah, because no one could come in the store.
Yeah, and then people got grumpy, and then it became the worst thing.
Yeah. I was a one-man news department at a radio station that had to work in a 15-minute changing news cycle. That was fun. So, well, you got to stay at home during the pandemic, and COVID was
and got
great.
$2,000 a month doing nothing.
No, she wouldn't have been on CERB.
Well, you wouldn't have been, oh, you were too young. Okay.
She was grade 8.
How old did you have to be on CERB?
You had to be working.
Could you not work when you were in grade 8? How old were you, 14?
I'm 17 right now, so...
Oh, that's
4 years ago. So 13.
Okay, well, yeah, you wouldn't be working then.
Lucky 13. Literally, lucky 13. COVID happened. Look at that. COVID-19, Kassie 13.
At least it didn't like mess up with your social life, as if it would have been if you were in like grade 12 or like later on in life, like where you are now. If COVID hit now, it would suck.
Yeah, it would.
Because you're like prom dresses, and that wouldn't have happened.
I mean, I don't really care about prom. I'm just going for my friends.
Well, that was going to be the next
You have your dress
question.
picked out and everything.
I know.
So what? Don't give me that you don't care.
Like, no.
You clearly have a care for
If
it.
something happened to prom, I wouldn't be that upset about it. Like,
How much do you have to pay for prom?
$45 for a ticket.
Jeez. Holy.
You'd be super upsetty spaghetti, let's be honest.
I would not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'd be upset a little bit, but like not.
Who are you going with?
Do I have to like...
Are you not going to reveal that on the podcast?
Have you been asked yet? We'll ask that. Have you been asked yet?
No.
Oh, okay. So she's still available. Listen to that, gentlemen.
Yep.
The Bachelorette is still available to be asked.
God.
Wait, how long do people have? What's the deadline here?
June 28th.
Okay, so people still have like.
You can still.
I was going to say a
rose.
week, but I realized it's May. So you still have a month and you have 5 weeks. You're fine. Are you okay? But here's the thing: would you ever ask a guy? Are you progressive in that sense? No.
No.
So if no guy asks you, what are you gonna do? Not saying that will happen. I'm looking at all our options here.
Just
Nobody
going
asks
with my
you.
friends.
Okay, that's fair. That's good.
Ben's really invested in prom for somebody that never went to prom.
I never went to my prom. I'm just curious what, like, you probably have like 3 different plans.
Nah, just going with my friends.
Okay.
If
Good for
nothing
you.
happens, going with my friends. I mean, we're all a group and we're all single, so we'll just go together. And
if you're lucky, maybe a big rig will show up. That's an inside joke.
I never went to prom either, so I mean, I don't have any regrets of not going to prom. So I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like I didn't care enough about it, and then they wanted to take my wisdom teeth out that same day. So I was like, okay.
the thing is, I think I'm going to get tired of it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I chose getting my wisdom teeth removed over going to my prom.
Who would win, wisdom teeth or a piece of gum?
Piece of gum, apparently.
Don't chew gum, or you will die.
Yeah. Although I know somebody a couple of years ago who, an ex-girlfriend who was going to come to kiss with us.
Because that's their name.
And they were supposed to get their wisdom teeth out the week before, and then they wouldn't do it because the loud vibrations might blow their sinuses out.
Wow, that's metal as fuck, dude. Can you imagine? Just like,
what happened to your sinuses?
Scary.
Oh, they were playing Lick It Up. My sinuses just blew out of my face.
I couldn't because I didn't have any sinuses. I know that's really morbid, but like, it would be like, that would be a sight to behold. Can you imagine if there's like
just at the concert and next thing just
but Gene Simmons is looking right at you,
and
he's just like, "Hey, how did you do that?
Hey, Gene, do you want real blood?"
Gene's like, "I got to do that the next time."
Anyways, yeah, so they delayed that one too because of it.
Good thing she said something though. Could you imagine if she didn't?
Yeah, oh yeah, I know, right?
Because I wouldn't have thought of that.
We're just standing there because you were at the concert too, so we're just.
Was that the first or the second time?
That was the second time I saw them. That was the first time you saw them.
Yeah, when they came down on the giant spider.
Yeah, the giant spider.
Played Psycho Circus. It took us like a minute to realize what song they were
we were both like standing there and be like, "What?"
I don't know. I think it was because that was the last song I expected them to play to start with.
I was like, "Oh, they probably opened up with Deuce or something."
Yeah.
So you're Psycho Circus. But anyways, are you kind of like melancholy, I guess is the right word, or sad that your high school days are slowly coming to an end? No?
I'm ready for them to be over.
Oh, okay.
But you are taking a grade 13.
I am.
So this isn't really the end of your days.
No, but at least then I can like...
They're the end of like you have to be here and do everything days.
I don't have to work hard.
Well, unless Kortney fails you in this co-op.
I hope not.
Got
Please
the power.
don't. I'd buy you popcorn.
Yeah, you're up for a couple of awards this year, by the way.
What?
We have year-end awards with the Frontline.
No one told me this.
Yeah, no, that was supposed to be it. Well,
It's the Big Rig Award.
So you've watched. I know you've watched The Office, right?
Yes.
So you know how they have the Dundies?
Yes.
So you know how they call pucks biscuits?
Yeah.
So we call them the Biskies.
Oh.
And everyone gets a certificate and a golden puck.
Oh God, of course.
Ben won most likely to join a cult or something last year, and he also won.
I don't remember.
He also won top prospect along with Harrison because they were both rookies last year.
Yep. And who's still with us now? Not Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison's just an empty seat.
Yeah.
So
what happened, Harrison? How's that work?
Jim's locksmithing. They locked Harrison up.
So apparently they do knife sharpening, which was kind of a weird.
Yeah, that's a really.
Because he was like, "Oh, I was doing knife sharpening." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, what are you doing, Harrison? Where are you sharpening knives? I can tell you, there's 2 of them that you're up for. You're also up for top prospect.
Okay.
Whether or not you're going to win, we don't know.
Who's up with it too, Brad?
Yeah, there's a couple. Actually, they're up for top prospect.
It's gonna be a high hill to climb, I think.
Yeah, you might have a tough time. Okay. You're also up against Ben Long, who's the defending award getter on this one, called the Cineplex Award, most likely to eat a bag of popcorn during a broadcast.
Ooh, I don't think. Well, this year he didn't bring a lot of popcorn, but he did bring a lot of snacks. Him and Harrison.
Yeah.
He
brought
did
a
bring
lot of
a whole
snacks.
bag of popcorn to the last Battalion game.
Yeah.
Like the one we watched online.
But then again, so would you whenever you go to Powassan. So
I like popcorn, but I can't eat that much. There's no way. Like he eats like a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Ben's up for a couple too. I can't divulge what they are though.
I have an idea.
There's some really good awards. There's some like legitimate awards and there's joke awards.
Okay.
And I'm not up for any legitimate awards.
Yeah, you're up for like least favorite podcast producer, Ben Sargent.
The only one.
Chris Dawson's up for. Well, everyone's up for a couple. Chris Dawson's up for a couple. Brad's up for a couple.
When's that taking place?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
But Brad wants to do it out at my dad's cottage, and I'm just kind of like, that's not gonna fly. So
Brad wants a lot of things.
I got eaten alive out there on Saturday. I went out to help my dad like finish up some of the things.
I was out there too.
Yeah,
I was putting my dock in.
Oh, that's a fun time. Do you guys have like?
No, it wasn't bad. It was like an hour, but
yeah,
it was funny because we only had one pair of hip waders, and so my brother-in-law was in the hip waders, so I had to just kind of stand around and wait for him to like put things up and down, and adjust stuff, which kind of sucked because usually you'd kind of do them at the same time, to make it faster. And so I just kind of stood around a lot and then carried stuff down a hill.
You're spoken like a unionized employee.
Yeah.
My dad's dock is like in there all the time.
Is it on floaties?
No, it's on like rock cradles.
Oh, okay.
So the one end of the dock is like lifted right up because the ice just came in and messed it up. But anyways, we had like a lot of like stuff to do because they're finally like able to stay there. Like the renovations are done and everything.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
And it's like, also, for those on Instagram that did see the pictures, I didn't do any of the outside. I just helped with the painting. Everyone was like, wow, look at what he can do. He does everything.
Oh, just take the...
That's what my dad said, too. He's like, no, take the compliments.
Yeah,
and
take
the
compliment.
Okay, I do everything. Anyways, no, we were, like, to the point of, like, moving. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on, and then we had a huge bonfire of, like, old wood that was from the cottage that we didn't need anymore. But, like, it was to the point where, like, the stuff that we were moving was so heavy and like crazy and stuff that I was like literally sweat was dripping off my face. I was like, this is terrible. I just want to run into the lake.
Saturday was very hot.
Yeah, it was.
And it's like this week has just been very hot. And so Saturday I was like sweating a lot. Like I had to, as soon as I got home, I had to take a shower. Yeah. I was like, this is just no bueno.
Well, and then my dad's like, hey, because like his next door neighbor is his sister. So he's like, hey, they're not there. Do you want to just stay at their place? And I was like, Alex has ribs on the barbecue, so I'm going to go home and have some ribs.
Ribs on the bobby.
Yes. Anyways. Kassie.
Yeah.
What day's your prom again? June 28th?
June 28th.
All right. So I just wanted to hammer that home. Yeah, you have until June 28th.
To ask her, boys.
Yeah.
As long as you're in high school. I'm assuming, is that like a thing? I'm assuming it is, but is there like certain things people need to know? We're trying to give you a profile here. Like, help us out a little bit.
Quirky, fun.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. We could do a whole bachelorette thing here. Oh, God. Get us some roses.
We'll get the roses, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer this.
It's a simple question. Like, do people have to go to your high school to be part of it?
No.
I will never forget last October when we were doing the NOGHL showcase. We always go out for dinner afterwards with Thomas Mercier. And at the time, it was Major League Baseball playoffs were on. And we went to Overtime Bar and Grill. And this is in Sudbury because everyone loves Sudbury. There were two TVs that we could see from our table. One had the Phillies game on, in which they're in the playoffs. And the other one had the Golden Bachelorette, which if you don't know what the Golden Bachelorette is, it's a bachelorette, but for like senior people. And Thomas was just transfixed on that TV the whole time. He wasn't even caring about the Phillies game. He just wanted to know what was going on with the Golden Bachelorette.
Yeah, well, you can tell where his desires lie.
Well, the thing that was funny was it was like the episode where they all like come out and meet the Bachelor.
Wait, how old are they? Are they like old age home old, or are they like
no, they're like 60s,
like retired.
70s,
okay.
Yeah, like
could you?
But anyways, like this one lady came out with like a walker and everything, was like hobbling over to him, and he's like, "Oh, this is great." Then she throws away the walker. She's like, "I'm ready," and all this stuff. And I was just kind of like, "This show is
that sounds
wild."
Actually way better than the Bachelorette."
That's why he was transfixed on it. Thomas was like, to his credit, that guy knows quality reality TV shows. Do you watch any good reality TV shows? No.
I don't really watch reality.
90 Day Fiance.
Yeah. Or in TLC, all the TLC ones. What's the My Strange Addiction?
Yeah, that one's good too.
Oh, that one's weird.
That's why it's called My Weird Addiction.
Have you ever seen the one where the person thinks that they're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? And they wear like the head props from the movies and they just like solely eat pizza?
No, I have not seen that one.
I like the one where the person eats the cushion out of their car. Have you seen that one?
No, but
she's addicted to like the car cushion specifically. And she'll just like pick it and eat it. It's like the Febreze one, the one that eats like Febreze.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
It's weird. But and then there's the other guy who's in a relationship with his car.
Yeah. Or there's another one who's in a relationship with a roller coaster. I kid you not. That's like a legitimate thing. It's like if you go to like Wonderland and someone's like, I'm in love with the Leviathan. It's like, okay.
I'm going to refrain from making the comment that I want to make.
You're a big fan of Leviathan, eh, Ben?
Nope, I'm not saying anything.
That's who Ben would have gone to prom with Leviathan.
This is called growth, personal growth. I'm not saying anything.
Oh, man, you might take yourself away from some of the Biskies this year then. All right, with that being said, I'm glad that we got to the bottom of it. June 28th, prom night. They also made a movie about it. It's a horror movie. Don't watch it.
I like horror movies.
Okay, watch prom night.
Wait, I thought you were talking about, what's the one with the pig's blood?
I don't know.
Carrie.
Oh, yeah.
That's prom, isn't it?
That's like, yeah, that's a dance. Did you go to any formals in high school, or did you just not go to dances?
I didn't go to any of them.
You weren't missing much. I went to a couple of formals. I don't like dancing. There was more like just go and...
Especially as a teenager.
Talk to people.
I don't want to talk to
people. And try to yell over... Kanye West Stronger or something.
That's why I hated going to the clubs in college. Yeah. Because it's just like, you can't hear anything.
No.
It was just dumb.
Yep.
But anyways.
That's why I don't like to go out unless it's for live music. Live music I'm here for. So, July 16th, down at the band shell, hanging out with Jess Ravita. You guys should come. No, don't come. You don't want to see me play the drums. It's terrible. Anyways. June 28th. That's right, prom night. All right, so we had a lot of fun on this episode, ripping into Oshawa, talking about Adam Dennis winning GM of the Year award, and then, of course, getting to know all about Cassie's final year in high school, or second final year, I guess, but final real year of high school, which we're pretty excited about. So with that being said, I'll wrap things up now.
Wait, why didn't you get Kassie to like help at your cottage? That would have been a good co-op thing.
That's what I said.
Oh,
and then she was like, yeah.
You never asked me or anything.
Oh, time to fail her.
You just mentioned it, and then that was it.
But you're in the perfect spot to blackmail her into doing, don't abuse your spot of power.
You just told me I should fail her.
No, I didn't.
Please don't.
Retract
Please
that last
don't fail
statement. I'm just saying, it would have been a good co-op experience for her.
Yeah.
And maybe she would have met someone. Well, I don't know if she would have met somebody doing it, but you never know. There's romantic comedies that are kind of weird.
Between my dad, his girlfriend, and myself, she's not meeting many people.
There could have been somebody else on the lake.
Yeah, maybe we just go in the boat and go by your cottage.
Yeah, there's nobody there unless you want to meet my nephew. He's 4. He's not going to go with you.
I'm good.
Unless you're a dinosaur, and then he would.
I don't know. 17's pretty old. That you could consider that being a dinosaur. God, that makes us ashes.
Yeah.
Dust to dust.
Anyways.
No. Dinosa. You are a dinosaur.
I don't even know what that is, and I'm afraid to ask.
You don't?
No.
Okay, we're going to watch this after this. Anyways, yeah, so that's Ben at the end of the table. This is Kassie, June 28th, prom night. Check us out where we stream. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on social medias, of course. Although we're going to be pretty quiet here, I guess, for the next little while. We'll be back probably in a couple of weeks. So I'm Kortney Kenny, and as always, keep your eye on the front line.
The Frontline, hosted by Kortney Kenny, the official podcast of the Powassan Voodoos.